The first commercial establishment you'll see when approaching Fort Davis from the south is the Fort Davis Veterinary Services Clinic, still about a mile out of town. Serving both large and small animals, the clinic is also a model for local businesses, being on the tour each year for the Big Bend Leadership Development Program. It also happens to be owned and operated by my daughter and son-in-law. The stately building on your left as you enter town is the recently restored Jeff Davis County Courthouse, built of pressed bricks and limestone in 1910. Ahead on your right is historic Limpia Hotel, named after nearby Limpia Creek and not because limpia means clean in Spanish, although it is a clean and comfortable place to stay. Built in 1913, the Limpia was summer home for many Texans who could afford to come here to escape the heat and humidity of the rest of Texas. The town's 5,050 feet altitude, together with the area's fifth season in mid to late summer, do provide a cool summer getaway. Also on the town square is the Kesey Building. Built in 1873 as a store and saloon, it later became the largest mercantile store in the entire Trans-Pecos region, then a lumber yard, and part of it even served as the local jail for a time. It now houses the Fort Davis Library and the Fort Davis Chamber of Commerce, two excellent sources of information about the area. Further around the square are a law office, a real estate office, and a family health clinic, all housed in what was the very first automobile garage in all of West Texas. It was built in 1909. The Fort Davis State Bank, also on the square, was built in 1913. Before leaving the center of town, take a quick look down the main street. The building on the right, known as the drugstore, is now a popular eating place. The town's drugstore was originally housed in a part of the Limpia Hotel. In the 1950s, the drugstore relocated to the present building, which was moved here as surplus property from the large air base near Marfa. The second story, now a hotel, was later added. Just a couple of blocks from the town square is the old Lempert Hotel, built in 1883. Chief Quanah Parker spent nights here in 1884 and 1913, when in the area to collect peyote to be used in native rituals. You can spend the night here, it's now a bed and breakfast, or just drop in for a fascinated look into the past. This funny little one-room building was the post office from 1908 to 1922. The lower floor of the building on the right was built in 1884 and has served as a general mercantile store, drugstore, variety store, newspaper office, and public library. The adobe house on the left was an office for land speculators and livestock dealers in the mid-1880s. Writer-historian Barry Scobie bought the house in 1945 and lived there till his death in 1977. The house is affectionately known as the Scobie-Dobie. Scobie was instrumental in promoting Old Fort Davis as a national park. Situated on the Overland Trail, not far from the fort, the present-day Overland Trail Museum belongs to the Fort Davis Historical Society and can be seen on weekends or by special appointment. An historical plaque on the front of the Methodist Church says that it is the oldest Protestant church between San Antonio and El Paso. Since the church wasn't built until 1884, some of the older Fredericksburg Protestant churches may want to argue the point, or just concede that Fredericksburg lies to the north of a direct route between San Antonio and El Paso. This adobe building housing the non-denominational Church in the Mountains has been a variety store, a shooting gallery, a picture show, a skating rink, and was the Baptist church for a number of years since it was built about 1900. The Reverend William Blois organized the First Presbyterian Church in 1888, and 2 years later organized an annual cowboy camp meeting not many miles from town. The camp meeting has grown over the years from the original 36 attendees to well over 1,000 who currently show up each year. Now a bed and breakfast, this 2-room building served the community as its public school from 1904 until 1930. On the main street at the north end of town is St. Joseph's Catholic Church, which celebrated its 100th birthday in 1999. After lightning destroyed two prominent steeples, the decision was made not to build a third. We have continued north and then west of town about 5 miles and are now on the Skyline Drive in the Davis Mountain State Park, looking down on the veterinary clinic where this program first began. Looking out over the town, you can see a prominent landmark called Mitre Peak for its similarity to a bishop's formal head attire. Skyline Drive is well worth the dangerous steep hills and sharp curves you will encounter, but do be careful and check your brakes before starting up the mountain. Much of the very popular Indian Lodge was built by the CCC in the 1930s. Make your reservations early, since it is no longer one of Texas' best-kept secrets. It is a part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife System. Seen from Skyline Drive is a tiny speck on top of the mountain. A dome of one of McDonnell Observatory's giant telescopes is another 12 miles north via State Highway 118. The Visitor Center at McDonnell Observatory makes McDonnell perhaps the most visitor-friendly observatory in the world. The center hosts casual visitors as well as scheduled classes for teacher education. Star parties for tourists are conducted several nights a week just after sundown. Located atop Mount Locke are the 82-inch and the 104-inch telescopes. The 82-inch telescope was dedicated in 1939 and was the second largest telescope in the world at the time. The 104-inch telescope went into service in 1968. Another telescope, not shown here, is the Hobby Eberly telescope. It went into service in 1999 atop nearby Mount Folks. With a reflective area of 354 inches, it is currently the fourth largest telescope in the world. Self-guided tours of these telescopes are easily arranged at the Visitor Center. Location, location, location. As important to the astronomer as it is to the real estate agent. Mount Locke was chosen for its altitude to get the telescopes above much of the Earth's atmosphere, and for its isolation in one of the darkest corners of the United States to avoid light pollution from the city's bright lights. Now, looking back toward Fort Davis, some 17 miles away, we'll call it a day and enjoy a beautiful sunset over Blue Mountain, one of the higher peaks of the Davis Mountains of West Texas.